Hello dear students, welcome to Pen and Paper Chemistry. The topic that we are taking up in this lesson is the properties of haloalkanes, and this is part 1 of the video in a series of videos on this topic. And what do you need to attend this video or to attend this lesson is, as the name indicates, a pen and a notebook in your hand, and colored pencils will come in handy to make the flow charts, which will help you to remember this topic easily. Before we go ahead, some basic points that we need to cover is alkyl halides classified into 3 categories: primary, secondary and tertiary. If you are unclear about this topic, I have dealt with it in a separate video explaining the difference in them. A quick mention of this: primary alkyl halides, where the halogen atom is attached to a carbon which is further attached to only one other carbon atom. Secondary or 2 degree, a halogen atom is attached to a carbon. This carbon is in turn attached to 2 other carbon atoms. Tertiary, a halogen atom is attached to a carbon, which in turn is attached to 1, 2 and 3 other carbon atoms. Right? Have you noted this down? Because this will come in very handy when we discuss this topic further. What are the various types of reactions undergone by alkyl halides or haloalkanes? Categorized into 4: nucleophilic substitution, elimination, reaction with metals, and some reactions which we will classify as miscellaneous. Nucleophilic substitution reactions, this category of reactions will constitute major portion of our study. So we are going to spread it or divide it over 2 videos. One, of course, is the one where we are already going to go ahead with it. Nucleophilic substitution, substitution by a nucleophile. So we've got the alkyl halide. So this is our alkyl halide. And we've got our nucleophile. A nucleophile comes, pushes out the halogen and takes its place, and we call this reaction as nucleophilic substitution reaction. Replacement of a halogen atom by a nucleophile. For example, alkyl halide when reacted with aqueous KOH solution. So what we do is, again my favorite, we'll make boxes over here so that it's easier to understand, and the same time it is easier to recall as well. Alkyl halide plus potassium cyanide. So I'll just break it like this, and we will have RCN plus Ki. Now this topic will become easy for you as well if you continue to write alongside whatever you are understanding over here. It is very important for you to write this down alongside with me. What you notice over here is there are 2 parts to this reaction. Of course, one is the alkyl halide, the other is the nucleophile. Now alkyl, let's break it up further, and we have a halogen atom over here which has to be replaced by a nucleophile, right? So we've got a nucleophile. Now nucleophile, as we've done in a previous video, nucleophile, nucleus loving, right? Any species which is capable of attaching itself to a nucleus. Now what is the charge on the nucleus? Positive charge, right? Any species which is able to attach itself to the nucleus would be nucleus loving. What type of species would be nucleus loving? Something which is rich in electrons. So it can be a species which is negatively charged, or a neutral species with lone pair of electrons on it, right? And by the way, we have dealt with it in a separate video where we have spoken about electrophiles, nucleophiles and free radicals. So there we go. You are getting your notes also ready at the same time. Now we come to the substrate. The substrate has two parts to it, the alkyl part and the halogen part. What role do they play in a nucleophilic substitution reaction? Let us understand that. Alkyl groups. Now again, there is a separate playlist on the channel where we have spoken about the basic concepts of organic chemistry, and we have dealt with nucleophilic reactions in detail. From that knowledge, you will recall that the order of SN1 reactions is tertiary, secondary and primary, whereas the reactivity order for SN2 reactions is exactly reversed. So we have methyl, primary, secondary and tertiary. If you are unsure about this, I would highly recommend you to visit the playlist on the channel and go through the fundamentals first in order to be sure about what you are learning. The second thing, as I said, we are going to talk about is the leaving group or the halogen. Now, what do we mean by the leaving group? Coming back to what we have seen over here. Alkyl halide plus nucleophile. The nucleophile comes and attacks alkyl halide, and the halogen atom has to sadly leave the alkyl and move away. So that is why general term that we will use is, we'll say leaving group. Why am I using the word leaving group is because it is not just the alkyl halides. There will be a number of organic compounds where we will be talking about nucleophilic substitution reactions. So once the fundamentals are in place, you don't need to worry at all. What would be a good leaving group? So let us suppose that this is a big family and this halogen has to leave from here. This halogen will leave only if it gets its share of the electrons, right? Because it says I cannot survive without those. Okay, boss, agreed. You leave with your share of electrons, but you should be capable of managing those electrons yourself. Okay, don't come crying to us that I've got this extra bundle on my head and I'm not able to take care of it. So, our halogen atom should be competent enough to take care of the burden that will come upon it. In other words, our halogen atom should be big enough so that it can spread out the electrons that it will acquire as part of the sewerage of the bond between the carbon and the halogen. So from your knowledge of the halogen atoms, how would you rate the iodide, bromide, chloride and fluoride? So on the basis of your periodic table, how would you explain or how would you guess which one of these will leave the carbon atom easily in the alkyl halide? Absolutely. So if you remember, the size of the halogen atoms, it increases in the order fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine, right? So when we talk about the leaving group, iodide would be the best leaving group, followed by bromide, then chloride and then fluoride. The order is reversed. This can also be seen on the basis of the bond strength. This is reflected in the bond strength of the carbon halogen atom. So I have listed the tabular data over here. You see over here the carbon fluoride bond strength, how strong that bond is. Maximum in the case of CF bond and minimum in the case of Ci bond. In other words, the bond between a carbon and an iodide is easier to break as compared to a bond between carbon and fluoride. This can also explain the bond length. Carbon and iodine bond length is 2.14, which is highest amongst the carbon halogen bond, where for CF the bond length is 1.39 angstrom units. There could be slight variation in the numeric values because of the various sources of these values, but more or less they are same in different textbooks. So we have the order of reactivity of alkanes would be, yes, please go ahead and write these points because they will come in handy further on when we write the reactions. So we have the iodoalkanes reacting the fastest, followed by bromo, chloro and fluoro. Now an interesting point to keep in mind. You recall when you were making the haloalkanes, we had said that we don't carry out the reaction between an alkane and fluorine in order to form. So if we want to form CH3F, we do not carry out this reaction because we said that this reaction is explosive, right? Many of the places you find where we say that the reaction, when you see the reaction of the halogens with the other compound, fluorine being the most reactive. So fluoroalkanes are the easiest to form. They form with a big bang, with a big explosion. But if you realize, they are the most difficult to break. So keep this in mind as we go ahead with learning more of these nucleophilic reactions. What is this? What have we got here? Oh yes, it's the favorite flow chart of the students. They love it because these flow charts help them to flow their thoughts onto paper. Thoughts means the reactions over here. Obviously, we are talking about chemistry. They help them to recall name reactions. Especially by the end of your learning of organic chemistry, for this stage you will have so many compounds, so many reactions that you will be lost. Which one was what? Which one is where, right? At least that was my situation when I was doing my 11th and 12th, honestly. And they also are really, really helpful in conversions. Let's see how they help you in this. For those who have been following the channel earlier, you will have realized that I've already loaded the flowchart for alkanes, alkenes, alkynes. Their preparation and properties are already there on the channel. Please take maximum benefit out of it. Now this is a flow chart which lists the nucleophilic substitution reactions of alkyl halides, and please remember, this is not complete, this is to be continued. This is just a part of the flow chart. But because there are so many, I had to split it into two parts so that it does not become boring for you. So alkyl halide, when it reacts with aqueous KOH. Alkyl halide when it reacts with sodium alkoxide. Let's start writing the reactions, right? Then you'll understand how to use this flow chart. So you see the first reaction that we are saying is alkyl halide plus aqueous KOH or aqueous NaOH. They play the same role, and you can also take moist silver oxide. So the first reaction we are writing over here, alkyl halide KOH. Simple, make the box is what you are interested in, right? So you have ROH over here and KX. Coming to the minor details of this, and of course these are minor in the writing part, they are not, you cannot overlook these conditions when you do these reactions in the laboratory, because organic chemistry and organic reactions are very specific. They are very particular about what conditions they want to take place in. One important point that I would like to stress over here is the alkyl halides. They are not soluble in water, right? So you cannot carry out the reactions of alkyl halides in an aqueous solution. You need to take them in a soluble form, and that soluble form happens when you dissolve them in solvents like water. So we will carry out these reactions in an alcoholic environment. We will carry out these reactions in an alcoholic solution, but what will be the ratio of the alcohol to the water will decide whether we will have a substitution product or an elimination product. Oh my God, that's another angle to it. What is this? Don't worry, we'll talk about it later. For now, just understand that these reactions we are going to talk about, I'm saying aqueous KOH over here, but that means that there is a small amount of alcohol present in this particular solution. So many of the places you will find it written as aqueous alcoholic KOH solution, indicating that alcohol is present only as a solvent over here. It is not participating in the reaction. If it was participating in the reaction, then we would have a different product entirely, right? So go ahead, write the reaction of alkyl halide with aqueous KOH. Go ahead, write the reaction of alkyl halide with aqueous NaOH, so aqueous alcoholic NaOH. Reflux means you do not allow the contents, the volatile contents, to escape. There we go, make the box, and we have ROH plus NaX, right? Now, C2H5Br, let's give the alkyl and the halogen part a name, and now react it with aqueous KOH, form the product. What do you get? There we go, C2H5OH plus KBr, as simple as that, right? Go ahead. So if we have C2H5I plus NaOH aqueous, reflux, don't forget the conditions, write the product. If you notice in the reaction, I had also written that aqueous silver oxide also gives you the same reaction. Sometimes, to make it easier for the students to understand, what I say is, okay, write it like this, although it's not so, but it's easier to recall like this. Okay, so here we can write the reaction as AgOH, so that it is easier for you to draw the box and remember this. Now you know how to draw the box. Would you like to try the other reactions that we have written in the flow chart? Let's try the second one. We said alkyl halide plus it was sodium alkoxide, right? So we say RONA, and this reaction takes place in an ethereal solution, does it? It takes place in an alcoholic solution, and what we are going to do is slightly flip the sodium alkoxide around, and just to avoid confusion I'll put an R dash over here, just to keep it they're different. There we go. We have NaX and we are left with ROR dash. What is this now? What compound is this? Can you recall? Yes, it is an ether. Got it? This particular reaction is known as Williamson's ether synthesis. So where are we again going to come across this reaction? Absolutely in the preparation of ethers. Interestingly, the same reaction occurs when you treat an alkyl halide with dry silver oxide as well. It gives you an ether, ROR plus AgX. Right? We shall be doing these again under the topic of ethers. So go ahead. C2H5Br plus sodium alkoxide, C2H5ONa. What do you have to do? Remember to flip it. Flip it in order to take the Na and Br together. Let me give you one more. C2H5Br plus CH3ONa. Remember to flip it. C2H5Br plus dry silver oxide, Ag2O. See the difference over here? Here it's dry, whereas when we took moist silver oxide, we were getting alcohol as the product, correct? So we can now fill our table and we will have an alcohol over here. We will have an ether over here. Got it? So what will be the product over here when you react the alkyl halide with potassium cyanide? Yes, you will have RCN. What about AgCN? Oh, there is something interesting happens over here and we get RNC. Wondering what it is? We will talk about it very soon. Come to again alkyl halide plus sodium nitrite, NaNO2 or KNO2. The product over here is RONO, alkyl nitrite. Whereas when you carry out the reaction with AgNO2, the product is RNO2, nitroalkane. Am I confusing you? Don't worry. I am not going to confuse you because we are going to deal with them further. So let's take one step at a time. Alkyl halide plus KCN, again in an alcoholic solution because it serves as a solvent, and we have RCN plus KX, right? Now this RCN is very, very useful for us. You know why? Because it leads us to a number of other compounds. What are they? If I carry out its partial hydrolysis, that is using, let's say, a concentrated acid, or I use alkaline hydrogen peroxide, partial hydrolysis, break it down, O, and we will have water, H2O being added to it, and we have RCO, NH2 and amide. So if you notice, I have gone on from an alkyl halide to an amide. Go ahead. Now, if we carry out its complete hydrolysis. Complete hydrolysis means earlier I had taken concentrated acid. What will I take now? Obviously, dilute mineral acid. Or we could also take an alkali. So complete hydrolysis means again, so there's another molecule of water. So OH and H, HOH. So we have RCOOH and ammonia being formed over here. Oh, interesting, isn't it? We have formed an acid from an alkyl halide. Wow, look at that. How fast you are going ahead with your learning. Next, if we carry out the reduction of the RCN. Reduction means I will need to take reducing agents like sodium and ethanol, or maybe lithium aluminium hydride, or maybe hydrogen in the presence of nickel, platinum, palladium. Any of these reducing agents you can use over here. So we are reducing means we are adding hydrogen to it. There we go, 4 hydrogen added to it. So we will have RCH2NH2. This set of reactions is very, very important. Why? If you notice, you started with R over here, but in your final product you are getting R plus 1 more carbon, right? In your final product you are getting an R plus 1 more carbon. Here also you are getting R plus 1 more carbon. And how has that been possible? Wake up, because in the first step of the reaction itself we added a carbon over here. But these compounds, RCN, alkyl cyanides, being very, very reactive, they can undergo partial hydrolysis, complete hydrolysis, or reduction to give you a variety of products. You can get amides, you can get carboxylic acids, and you can get amines. So you are adding a carbon atom. So this is called the going up series. What you will find in some books written as ascending the series. When you add a carbon atom to the original substrate. Now comes the part where you need to test your understanding. Go step by step. CH3Br, KCN in an alcoholic solution form the first product. I'm waiting for you to write the reaction. Only watching the video will not help unless you write the reaction. Do it with your own hand. And see the confidence that you will acquire by doing so. Go ahead, write. Have you written? Yes, CH3CN plus KBr. Oh teacher, it was so easy. And if you have gone a step further and also completed this chart, I must say that you must pat your back and at the same time make this small smileys on your notebook to say that you are enjoying learning organic chemistry. Go ahead now. Tell me what will be the products of partial hydrolysis, complete hydrolysis, yes, and reduction. Do not forget to write the reagents that you will require. What do you need over here? What do you need over here? What do you need over here? And during the course of your learning journey towards organic chemistry, there could be more added to the list. Okay, this list is not exhaustive, but this is limited to your level of study at present. So partial hydrolysis, I will have CH3CONH2. Let's go a step further. Can you give the IUPAC name of this compound? Go ahead. So there are 2 carbon atoms in it. So eth, it's a saturated, so ane, and CONH2, amide, right? A vowel or a vowel, 2 vowels don't go together, and join them, and we have the name of this compound as ethanamide, right? And what had we started with? We had started with the bromomethane. You see, we started with 1 carbon, we ended with a compound having 2 carbon atoms. Go ahead. Complete hydrolysis, CH3COOH. Again, IUPAC name of this compound, ethanoic acid, right? Reduction, CH3CH2NH2. You got them all right? Lovely, beautiful. 2 carbon atoms, so eth, saturated, ane, NH2 group, amine. So the name of this compound becomes ethanamine. Unsure about nomenclature? Again, there is a playlist on IUPAC nomenclature. In fact, 4 videos that I have loaded regarding organic, the IUPAC nomenclature. Please go ahead, revise it if you are confused at any point. Are we done with nucleophilic substitution? No. We have to continue it. So let me say to be continued in the next video. Why? Because this has been almost a 30 to 32 minutes lesson, and I'm sure you need a break so that you can continue enjoying learning in a happy and light way. So see you soon in the next video. Don't forget your pen and notebook. Okay?